Donald Trump wants a cult gathering, and usually when it comes to cult gatherings, they don't end too well. And yeah, this is going to be an overreach. Trump's campaign denies that Trump wanted to invoke the specter of David Koresh 30 years after Waco, but we're not fucking stupid. Republicans certainly worked themselves into fits of fake rage over the past weekend at the very idea that Donald Trump was celebrating the infamous Branch Davidian standoff of 1993, simply because he held his Klan rally during the 30th anniversary of that event and very close to its Waco, Texas location. Um, Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick proclaimed that he picked Waco and said that it was bullshit fake news to suggest that Trump was dog whistling the far right, which long ago brought into conspiracy theories depicting Branch Davidian leader David Koresh as the victim of religious persecution. Now let's make this clear. There are legitimate criticisms of federal law enforcement decisions made during the siege, but the reality is that David Koresh abused children sexually. He also told his sycophants to commit suicide, as both recorded and autopsy evidence showed. All this showy GOP fake outrage was obvious bad faith even before Trump delivered his long and petulant speech at Saturday's Klan rally. And no one believes that a bunch of political pros just forgot the time and place of an event that inspired the Oklahoma City bombing of 1995, and that launched the career of InfoWars host Fat Fuck Jones, which Fat Fuck Jones had his channel pulled because he's a piece of shit, and he told lies and hucked boner pills. And then there's the fact that Trump has been trying to rewrite history of January 6th to turn the villains and to turn the traitors into heroes, much as conspiracy theorists have tried to do with the Branch Davidians. Now, Trump spent the days before the Waco Klan rally trying to gin up his followers for violence against government officials, posting predictions of death and destruction. If he's someday perhaps indicted by the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, and scoffing at those calling for peace. Now, after Trump's Waco Klan speech, there should be no room for any lingering doubt as to whether Trump is leaning into his identity as a self-created cult leader in his own right. His rhetoric during his now typical STEM-minder wasn't just whiny, but downright Koresh-like in its apocalyptic tones. He described America as a failing nation whose economy has collapsed, which that was basically the economy collapsing was due to Trump, where large packs of sadistic criminals and thieves are able to systematically rob stores and beat up their customers. Yeah, because you incited the fear into people, dumbass. He promised to deliver retribution for the supposed wrongs inflicted on his overwhelmingly white and Christian sycophants, and I brought to mind the latest Waco documentary for Netflix, which features footage of David Koresh coaching a child follower to say that God would smite their enemies. And Trump wasn't just tapping into 3 decades of risible far-right mythology about Koresh and Branch Davidians. His Klan rally also featured over-glorification of the January 6th Klan insurrection, including Trump's now standard use of treacly music, recorded by jailed defendants accused of serious crimes at the Capitol on that day. Around the same time, Trump's Republican allies in Congress also celebrated the Capitol Klan riot. On Thursday, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy had paid a visit to Mickey Withoft, who's the mother of the traitor Ashley Babbitt, who was killed during the Klan insurrection, and basically Ashley Babbitt, the traitor, has become a far right martyr. The next day, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia led a band of fellow Republicans to meet with imprisoned January 6 defendants in the D.C., giving them high fives and calling them political prisoners, even though they are prisoners, but they're not political prisoners. Now, Trump's entire Waco Klan rally spectacle was a barely veiled threat aimed at prosecutors or anyone else who might try to hold Trump accountable for his many crimes. Trump is trying to signal that he's got legions of sycophants ready to kill and die for him, as did Koresh, whose unwillingness to accept the consequences of stockpiling illegal weapons led directly to dozens of deaths, including the murder of 4 federal officers. Now, honestly, Trump may be more like Charles Manson, the 1960s California cult leader, who sent his sycophants to murder random white people in Los Angeles in a bizarre bid to start a race war. Now, like Manson, Trump is too much of a pussy to put his own hide on the line, and he expects his sycophants to commit violence on his orders. As with Manson, Trump's schemes largely depend on channeling the racist paranoia of white conservatives. Manson thought that he could pin his group's murders on black people, while Trump thinks he can deflect blame for his own crimes onto black officials like Bragg or Georgia prosecutor Fani Willis, who is investigating Trump for his attempts to steal the 2020 election. It's worth remembering that Trump's most popular ally and foe, the racist piece of shit Tucker Carlson, has a Manson-like obsession with the concept of race war. Now, Trump is probably overrating his charisma and comparing himself to any infamous cult leader. He seems visibly frustrated because his sycophants are clearly reluctant to sacrifice their freedom, their futures, or their lives themselves over these still hypothetical future indictments. And yes, an alarming number of people showed up to the Waco Klan rally, but it feels a lot like they turned out as a show of tribal loyalty to the maggot movement and to thumb their nose at Democrats more than out of some personal fascination with Trump. And once Trump started speaking, the crowd began to thin out quickly because they were getting tired of his lies. And they were there to socialize with each other and mug for the cameras and not to hang on to every Trump's word. And yes, Bragg's office has been getting death threats, but that sucks, but it's not surprising, especially in an era where death threats are exchanged regularly on social media over things like basically bashing a Marvel movie or believing that brunch is overrated. And no one doubts that an unhinged individual, or even a handful of them, may be willing to act on Trump's relentless and unsettled pleas for violence, but so far the story is not about Trump exerting some Koresh-style hold on his sycophants. But the January 6th Klan insurrection was quite another matter. The people who rioted that day thought they were acting to overturn a fictional democratic establishment and seizing political power not just for Trump but the retrograde white right movement. Amid Trump's indictment panic, many of his sycophants seem to view his histrionic behavior the same way that the mainstream media portrays it, as the ravens of a terminal narcissist that shouldn't be taken too seriously. Of course, it's frustrating that they think that level of narcissism is acceptable in a political leader, and one could write a book, and many people have tried, about why Trump gets so much backing from people who understand full well that he's a fucking piece of shit clown. And Maggot is a movement that opposes democracy and views violence as a legitimate political tactic, and right now it doesn't look like a suicide cult built around one man's personality. So if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. You can also leave a comment, let me know what you think. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the about section of YouTube. And for just as little as a few bucks, a video or a month, your donation can help go a long way. And thanks for listening.